What a joy and a blessing it is to be with you today. My God, my God, my God. I have such deep love and affection for your pastors here, Pastor Mike and Pastor Charlotte. What incredible, faithful gifts. God does not commit himself to talent or ability. He commits himself to faithfulness. And what you are experiencing here at Turning Point is the fruit of faithfulness. 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 Faithfulness is not exciting, but it is necessary. It is doing the humdrum daily responsibilities when you don't feel like it. Faithfulness. It's the only way that you can keep your body healthy, your marriage healthy, grow children who are healthy, is to be faithful. If you only do it when you feel like it, you're going to create a mess. But I didn't come to talk about that today. And I'm going to be just like a mini skirt, short enough to be interesting, but long enough to cover the subject matter. Touch somebody, say, I like him already. I like him already. I'm so glad that you're here. What a great atmosphere of joy. You ought to be able to have fun in the house of God. I mean, this is a place of joy. This is where we do life. This is about relationship. May I tell you this? Turning Point is a place to be able to connect. It's a place to be able to commune with God. And it's a place to be able to communicate with one another. You connect, you commune, you communicate. You connect, you commune, you communicate. You connect, you commune, you communicate. What a blessing it is to just be able to have a place that you can plug into and connect and commune and communicate. So I'm just grateful to God. I'm just grateful to God for the power to be able to connect. May I tell you this? I'm so blessed to just, my wife and I, we are in our 38th year of marriage. We've just been doing this, wow. She's the only woman I've ever known. This woman stole my virginity. There is a blessing still in doing it the old-fashioned way. May I just tell you that God is still in favor of doing things the old-fashioned way. I know we got a lot of new technology and a lot of things, but you know, there's something wonderful about just the old-fashioned way. If you've ever had cooking from your grandmother, whose idea of fresh vegetables was not from Kroger or Publix, but it came out of the garden or off the farm. You know, there's something different when if you raise your own hogs and grow your own collards and your own turnips and kale and string beans and squash and potatoes. And my goodness, when you have home cooked meals that are slow cooked, oh, there is a difference. Let me just tell you this, you do not get the same effect if you cook something at 350 degrees for an hour by turning it up to 700 degrees and only cooking it for 25 minutes. There are certain things, there's a flavor that comes, there's a maturity, there's a seasoning that comes when you slow cook things. And this is why God blesses us when we just take our time to walk with him. If you've ever noticed God, he's never in a hurry. Now, I want to give you 4 words. 4 words. The first word is relationships. Because this is one of the first things that will ever shift your life to go to another level. Life does not change by the passage of time just because the calendar flips over another day, another month, another year passes by. I know some people that are in their 50s and 60s who are still adolescent. Folks that's 38 and still have not grown up. They still have a teenager's mindset. You don't change just because time passes. That's not what shifts you into another level. You're in the process right now of being shifted. After 20 years, You're shifted now into another level, because you see, if you're the same at a year old as you were at birth, there's a delay. If you're the same at 10 years old as you are at 1, that's a sign of retardation. And if you're the same at 20 as you were at 10, so you grow in responsibility. The thing that makes a difference in being able to shift your life to another level is not just because you get another year older, because you've made another trip around the sun. It is a relationship that God sovereignly and divinely brings into your life. I like to call them a divine connection. A divine connection from God will shift your life. May I tell you this? You don't have the power to multiply until God brings at least one other person in your life. And so God had to bring Pastor Charlotte in for Pastor Michael in order for them to multiply. He couldn't multiply by himself. I couldn't multiply by myself. God has to bring in a unique relationship. He has to add something to you. There's a reason that Jesus sent them out by 2. Because it gives you the power of multiplication. 2 is the number of multiplication. It is also the number of difference. And may I tell you this, what we celebrate in the church, I love what I see here. I love what I see here. I love what I see online. It's diversity. But when I look deeper, what is more powerful than diversity is unity. The house of God is a place where the unity of God can be experienced. And the power is not in diversity, the power is in unity. It is when blacks and whites and Latino and Asians can unify and worship the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And when Democrats and Republicans can unify and say Jesus is Lord, we worship the Lord, the Lamb of God. There is something supernatural, something powerful that begins to happen in your life when God brings a divine relationship. We are impotent until God brings another into our life. Adam, as gifted as he was, fashioned, made by God himself, but he was incomplete. He had animals, birds, goldfish, dogs, cats, dinosaurs, whatever else. But something wasn't the right fit. And it wasn't until God fashioned something and brought it to Adam to see what he would call it. And he said, whoa, man. And at that point, Adam then now had the capacity to reproduce, because Adam carried seed and he needed a place to plant it. Until God brings the right relationship. And let me just tell you this. That's why, more than anything else, if the devil wants to mess up your life, he sends a messy relationship into your life. And this is why you need all of the discernment of the Holy Ghost, so that you get the right one. So you grow with the right one and multiply with the right one, because it could be your greatest blessing or your greatest nightmare. God wants to bring a divine relationship in your life. Can you imagine what happens when a Moses tapped a Joshua and brought him alongside and began to groom him and train him for the next thing? And God had to say, as I was with Moses, just like I was with Moses, Joshua, I'm going to be with you. But Moses didn't leave an instruction book to tell him, when you get into difficulty, turn to page 275 and you'll see how to work it out. No. Moses said, listen, I was at a Red Sea. I didn't know what to do. I had to look up toward God and trust God. Joshua, you're going to have to do the same thing. Thank God for relationships that'll not just give you all the answers, but will point you to the one who has all the answers, the one who is the answer. That's what a proper divine relationship will do. It was not until Elisha, who's out plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. He's behind the thing just tilling, shaking, behind a plow with 12 yoke of oxen. Oxen is a type of work. He's working himself to death, but he doesn't understand even why he's here. He's just going to a job, putting in time, trying to keep the bills current, trying to pay the rent, trying to pay the mortgage. But he didn't understand why he was here until somebody named Elijah came by and tapped him on the shoulder and said, follow me. And he said, what have I to do with you? He says, I got different things going on. He says, listen. And he went home and slaughtered the ox so he'd never be tempted to go back. God was bringing a relationship into his life that would change his life forever. And Elijah he is the picture prophetically of the prophet Elijah. Remember on the Mount of Transfiguration in the book of Matthew, who appeared with him were Moses and Elisha. What is unique about these two men? They are the only two men in the Bible who took part of the spirit that was on them and put it on another human being. Moses took some of the glory that was on him and put it on Joshua. And it was Elijah that took what was on him, because Elisha, who was following him, said his prayer was, give me a double portion of whatever was on this man. Whatever he had, give me twice. I want that. It's not until God brings somebody into your life that awakens something on the inside of you. It is not until a young 12 or 13-year-old woman by the name of Mary has heard a voice from God, and she's now pregnant, and the Holy Ghost is the daddy. And the angel of the Lord that appeared to Mary at the well of Annunciation says to her, get up and go see your cousin Elizabeth. He put him in contact immediately with a relationship that was carrying something that was farther down the road, because Elizabeth was a woman that was also carrying a miracle. She was beyond the childbearing age, and yet here she was, an old woman whose cycle had turned back on. And now she's pregnant 6 months with a miracle in her womb. And now there's a reason that the angel said, get there. He didn't hook her up with somebody else who was barren. One of the most frustrating things in the world is to have something moving in your spirit, to have a vision, to have a dream, to have something that God is birthing in you, and you don't have anybody to talk to that can identify with what you're experiencing. But he put them there, and the baby leaped in their womb. You need to have somebody in your life that when they begin to speak, that it causes your baby to leap on the inside of you. Somebody that starts saying, God will always bring somebody and put them in front of you, and something will leap in you and say, that's a part of what you're supposed to do. That's a part of the anointing. That's a part of the grace. There's something down on the inside of you that can say, you can do that. This is a part of you. There's a reason that Paul came there to Timothy and said, stir up the gift of God that is in you. Timothy was already saved when Paul met him. The Apostle Paul said, I know the faith that was in your mother Lois and in your grandmother Eunice. He says, Timothy, I perceive that it's already in you. The grandmama had faith. The mother had faith. And here was Timothy. But he was gifted, but unstirred. And it was not until God brought Paul into his life, and he heard a father's voice that stirred. He said, stir up. Why didn't his mama stir it up? Why didn't his daddy stir it up? It wasn't the right relationship to stir it up. He needed a Paul to come into his life and say, stir up the gift of God in your life. Who is it that God is bringing into your world that stirs a gift of God that is on the inside of you? You need to be with somebody that is stirring up your gift. God brings relationships. May I say this to you as a divine announcement? 80% of your happiness is always connected to a relationship. Are you listening to me? 80% of your happiness is connected to a relationship. That's why you better be very careful. Let me see the single people. Wave your hands. Wave at me, single people. All the single folks in the house. Be careful who you attach to. My God, you better go in fasting and prayer. I'm just telling you. Jesus spent the night in fasting and prayer before he chose his 12 disciples, and one of them still was a devil. A relationship will shape your life or wreck your life. And you got to be able to have the right one that God adds to you. Relationships will shift your life to the next level. There's a saying that says that a man does not become a father, a real man, until his father dies. Because the relationships, not only that enter your life, can shift you to another level, but also the relationships that exit your life can go to the next level. Sometimes it's when you get rid of toxic people. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that everybody that leaves out of your life is toxic. They're not. But there's something, if you've been depending on other people and they've been doing it for you, and all of a sudden now they're gone. Baby girl, you got to grow up now. They left you. It's you now and God. It's you and the Holy Ghost. And it's not until they left that you start realizing, I can do this. With his stripes, I am healed. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's a relationship. It's a relationship. When God brings the right relationship into your life, it empowers something. It stirs something. It activates something in you because God uses people. But 80% of your happiness is related to a relationship. If a woman is happy, it has to do with the man that is in her life, the son that's in her life, the daughter that's in her life, the best friend that is in her life. It is a relationship. And if you are miserable, chances are it is not because of the food. It's not because of housekeeping. It's because of the relationship. It's a who, not a what. It's a who, not a what. It's a who, not a what. That's why you have to be very, very careful about the relationships that come. When the devil wants to mess you up, he'll bring a wrong relationship into your life. And isn't it crazy? Isn't it just absolutely ludicrous when we are walking in the things of God, and as many funerals as I have done over the years, to watch them carry the casket by 6 men and then lowered it in the grave. You know, I think there's 6 men that carry a casket because 6 is the number of man. The first book of the Bible named after a man is the 6th book: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. Man grows to be approximately 6 feet tall. When he dies, he's carried by 6 men buried 6 feet under, because 6 is the number of man. It is interesting that we trust people to carry us and lower us down into the ground when we're dead. But my thing is, find your 6 now. I don't need 6 people when I'm dead. You can get a crane, you can get a machine, you can get a robot to do that. I need 6 people now. Somebody that can give me counsel on money. Somebody that can help me with health and physical fitness. Somebody that diet. I need a relationship counselor that can help me in my marriage. You need to find your 6 now. If you had a crisis over in the middle of the night, who would you call? You need to be able to start building your team of people that can carry you while you're alive, that can encourage you while you're alive. You remember the paralytic that was lowered down into the house? He was carried by his friends. He had relationships that carried him while he was alive. Can you imagine the difference that your life would make if, when you were discouraged and beating yourself up and you're dealing with disappointment, and all of a sudden now they said, listen, it's just a job, you'll get another one. You are too gifted for you to be messed up with here. And listen, you have developed skills now, and they are transportable. You can take all of those skills that you've learned over there. You understand how to do this. You can do it for another business. You can set it up and become a consultant yourself. Your friends begin to breathe life back into you. Who is the relationship that God brings into your life that will make a difference for you? Relationship is just number 1, and it determines 80% of your happiness. 80%. 80% is not determined by the weather. Because if you're with the right one, you can dance in the rain with them. Are you listening? If you're with the right one, it doesn't matter if you all have to eat sardines and crackers. I mean, it is better if you love each other. If you got that love, that goo-goo kind of eye, I'm talking about the person that just makes you, when you just thinking about them, and just you can have a picnic just by having a flashback of the time that they were with you, and you're being together one with another. It's a relationship. It can shift your life to another level. It can take you, just having the right relationship in your life. It accounts for 80% of your happiness. Just the right relationship. Not stuff, not having the right car, not having red bottoms shoes, not having the latest, the longer length eyelash, but the right relationship, the right relationship. Have you ever seen a situation where this good-looking man got this woman that is really, let's just say, homely? And you wonder how on earth did she get him? And sometimes this drop-dead gorgeous woman, and you wonder how did he get her? It's by how you make them feel. how you make them feel. I don't want to be with somebody that makes me feel stupid, dumb, ignorant, incompetent. I can't do anything. I don't want to be with somebody who just tolerates me but celebrates me. When you're with the right one, they will make you more than what you are. One of the main purposes of a spouse is to help the other spouse become what they are not. They make you more. They make you greater. I'm better because of the woman that God brought into my life. I am thankful to God. And if you got a bad attitude and have had a bad experience with one, the woman that thou gavest me. But I am celebrating and thanking God for the woman that God gave me and graced to be with me. I am thankful for that. And when God begins to bring that proper relationship in your life, you need to ask yourself the question, are they graced for me and am I graced for them? Not do I like their hair and or their teeth straight. But am I graced for him? Am I graced for her? Are we graced for one another? Because it becomes one of the greatest predictors of anything that can ever happen into your life. And so when you're with the right one, they begin to stir up the gift of God. They begin to uncover in you gifts, talents, abilities that you never even knew that you had. You start doing stuff that you never knew. They start stretching you. They make you more than what you are. That's how you know that you are with the right one. They bring stuff out of you that you didn't even know was in you. They help you to dream bigger. They help you to dare more. They help you to be more courageous. That's what the right relationship would do. God uses relationships to shift you. When he wanted to shift Elisha, he sent Elijah. When he wanted to shift Joshua, he sent Moses. When he wanted to shift Timothy, he sent Paul. When he wanted to shift Mary, he sent Elizabeth. God wants to shift you. When he wanted to shift Esther, he sent Mordecai. What relationship is God trying to bring into your life to shift you to another level? You want them to be a gift from God because it'll determine 80% of your happiness. Relationships, that's just number one. Here's number two, revelation. Revelation will change your life. It'll shift you to the next level. Revelation is how you see. Revelation is how you hear. Revelation is how you understand. Revelation is how you discern. Revelation, the revelation of God. The revelation of God will shift your life to another level. The revelation of God. Proverbs 28 says that where there is no vision, the word there, the Hebrew word there, where there is no open revelation, the people perish. People are limited. The only reason that they are at the level where they are is because they can't see any better. But the moment that God drops a dream in you, the moment that God drops a revelation in you, your life shifts. Because revelation, real revelation, produces a revolution. Revelation produces a revolution. Revelation produces a revolution. A revelation, it is an unveiling. It's where God begins to show you the power of what can be. It shows you, it opens the curtain to the realm of possibilities. God says, take a look at this. Dream to go bigger than you've ever gone before, because greater awaits you. There must be an exposure to greater, because God cannot deliver greater into your life if you don't have a desire for greater. And it is exposure by the revelation until you see it, until you discern it, until you understand it. Nothing happens, but revelation will change your life. Revelation. It is a revelation, just one revelation. It is a revelation. It was when Jacob laid his head on a rock as a pillow and fell asleep that revelation opened up. When that opened up, he stopped living like Jacob and became Israel. His whole wrestling was based on a revelation. He's like, I don't even know who I am. And we've got a whole generation that's on the scene right now. They are wrestling with their identity. Isn't that amazing? They need a revelation. They need a revelation. God says, I know the plans that I have for you. Jeremiah 29:11, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. God says, I know the plans. So after you get the right relationship, you need a revelation. A revelation. What is God showing you? What do you see? Do you see what I see? Remember the young lad that was dead? And the mother went and found Elisha, and he came and stretched himself out on the child, eye to eye, mouth to mouth, hand to hand. What is that about? It's about one generation coming into alignment with the next. Power flows when you come into alignment. And when the prophet stretched out, lined himself up, eye to eye, where you see the same thing, mouth to mouth, where you begin to speak the same things, power, that's a revelation. You see, revelation or vision has incredible unifying power. You find people that are disconnected, get a vision. Vision unites. Vision unites. Unity is produced through a common vision, or sometimes just through a common enemy. Think about that. It can come by either a relationship or a revelation. Some people work together just because both of them dislike you. You're a common enemy. You don't like her either? Guess what? Let's both talk about her. Isn't that amazing? People can be unified who don't even like each other, but they're together in that they don't like you. But they're in a common vision where you build together. See what's happening here at Turning Point. Power flows when people are united by a vision. When legacy begins to build and have something that connects and says for young people, for children, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. When you have a vision to be able to serve your community, that's power flows. When you become unified, when you can see a vision and join in unity together, because relationships have incredible power to be able to unify you, and so do relationships. Relationships and revelation. Relationships, revelation. What you see and who you see it with and who you do it with. It's about seeing something and serving together. Seeing something, God gives a revelation. You have to understand the Bible wasn't written to a person, it was written to a community. The Bible was written to a community. When they wrote the Bible and sent a chapter or a book, this was written to the church at Corinth, the churches. There were several churches, but one letter was written to unify everybody so that they would hear the same thing and see the same thing. It was a unifying power, revelation. Where there is no open revelation, the Bible says people cast off restraints. In other words, they lack discipline. That word in the original Hebrew, cast off restraints, it actually means loosens. That's why they begin to expose themselves. They loosen their apparel. They expose themselves. They expose themselves because there is no vision. Because if I know that I'm going to run for a political office, I'm not getting ready to post this. If I know that I'm going to med school, I'm not about to ruin my life over some foolishness right now. Because I got a vision. I'm working on something. There is nothing that will discipline you like the discipline of a vision, having the power of a revelation, what God has revealed to you that you are called in the earth to do. So your life is shifted to another level by the relationships that God brings. Secondly, by the revelation that God brings. Here's the third thing that shifts your life. Decisions. Decisions shift your life. Decisions shift your life. Your decisions determine your character, your conduct, and your destiny. Decisions determine your character, conduct, and your destiny. Decisions can shift your life. You can make one stupid decision, and it can shift your life in a wrong direction. And you can make a great decision, and it'll be the best thing that you've ever done. The word decision, when you use word etymology, D means off, sis means to cut, Sean means the state of. Decision, the state of cutting off. Every time that you make a decision, you're cutting off other options. When I made a decision 38 years ago to marry one woman, I cut off the option of being with other women. Did that stop me from seeing other gorgeous women? No, it didn't stop. I see them. I see y'all. But I made a decision. What holds me is the power of a decision. Snip, snip, decision, the state of cutting off. D, off, sis, to cut, Sean, the state of. Decision, every time a man makes a decision, every time a woman makes a decision, you cut off the other option. Am I going to have the fish or the chicken? I need to make a decision. Am I going to rent or am I going to own? That's a decision. Am I going to Jamaica or Cancun? That's a decision. And until you make the decision, you're paralyzed. You hinder your life, but decisions can shift your life. Sometimes just making one decision is to buy or sell. That's that decision. To sell all, to go bankrupt for Jesus. Sometimes just to say I'm going to give it all for the kingdom. That decision that I'm going to give my life to Jesus can be the thing that transforms your life. Your life will go to another level just because of that decision. Just your decision to join Turning Point Church shifts your life to another level, because you connect with a destiny. You connect with a destiny. If I get on a train that's already moving and I get on with all of my baggage and all my issues and all of my stuff, if I just get on, even if I'm still holding it, if I'm on board, I'm going to the destination of wherever that train is going. And my decision was to get on board. It was to just get on board. A decision. Your decisions determine your character, your conduct, and your destiny. Decision, the state of cutting off. Incision, the state of cutting in. Excision, the state of cutting out. You excise cancer. Circumcision, the state of cutting around. But decision, snip, snip, cut it off. What do you need to cut off in order to go to another level? I was out in New Mexico, and they talked me into getting into a hot air balloon. And my pilot was an Israeli man. I said, good, you're from Israel. You're from the Holy Land. I trust you. I said, I knew somebody else from that land. And we got in the hot air balloon, and then I'm looking right in front of me of the balloon that had just taken off. And I watched it get caught in power lines. And it wasn't a pretty situation. And I'm already in the balloon, ascending. But I trusted the pilot. I had no skill there, but I made the decision to get in. I made the decision. That decision lifted me up above the circumstances and gave me a perspective that I didn't have on the ground. Are you listening? It took a decision. Now, and the other thing that I noticed, in order for that thing to go up, it had to jettison excess weight. So the sandbags, the weights that hold it down were cut loose by a decision. That the more stuff that I've got tying me down, holding me down, is doing just that. Tying me down, holding me down. There's some things I need to cut loose. It's not about doing 10 different things. It's sometimes doing a few things well. You can't do everything. And you're too scattered, because in those many things become a distraction to you. And distraction is the destruction of your dream in slow motion. Distraction. It is the destruction of your dream in slow motion. Jesus said to Martha, he says, you're concerned about too many things. Sweetheart, you're trying to do everything. You're trying to do the laundry, and you got a load of dishes in the sink, and you're trying to sweep up and do all of this different stuff, and you got some clothes out on the line. He says, Martha, you're concerned about too many things. It's making you ineffective. You need to make some decisions. Crisis creates clarity. So when a crisis comes into your life, a crisis is a turning point. Whenever you have a crisis, God divinely orchestrates crisis as a turning point, because a turning point is a critical time for a decision to be made. And everybody makes a decision. Am I going to stay here, or am I going to pay the price to go to another level? And the higher you go, the more of your freedom that you lose, because the higher up that you go, the more you serve people. Power is to serve people, not serve self. And the greatest problem in our world today is egotistical and egocentric leaders, to where they are put in positions of power and they use it to serve themselves. But the power was designed to serve people. But we make a decision. Are you deciding things that tie you down, or things that propel you into your destiny? Your decisions will shift you to another level. Who are you with? The relationships that God brings into your life. Are they lifters or limiters? Are they people that are suppressing you, or are they people that are pushing you up, that are encouraging you, that are celebrating you? And then find out, is this part of my assignment, that I make a decision that I'm going to give myself to the lost, the least, the last, downtrodden, hurting people. God will send you to people. So if people are your mission field, the same people that are your mission field are not the ones that are your encouragers. So choose your team well. Talent needs a team to be terrific. Talent needs a team to be terrific. You know what makes a team? Trust turns a group into a team. Trust turns a group into a team. Don't bring anybody in a relationship that you don't trust. Trust turns a group into a team. Be very discerning about your relationships. Submit your heart and open it to the revelation that God wants to speak into your heart, what He wants to show you, even in your dreams, in your sleep, as God might speak to you spirit to spirit, as He might speak to you through circumstances. Notice that. Be open to God for His revelation. Be prayerful about every decision that God brings your way. Your decision can shift you in a good way or a bad way. A decision. And here's the fourth word. It is the word opportunity. If you see the opportunity, you can seize it. One opportunity can shift your life. It was when David was presented with an opportunity to be able to deal with Goliath. That's what brought him into national prominence. He had already killed a bear, that didn't do it. He killed a lion with his bare hands, that didn't do it. But when he set his eyes, an opportunity came to say, who wants to deal with this giant? It was that opportunity alone that shifted David, and he became known as the giant killer. One opportunity. The word opportunity comes from a word that simply means the opening of the port, because all of the trade was done on coastal cities. And a ship couldn't just pull up to a port and unload its good. It had to wait until the tides were right. And when the waters reached the proper level, then the port opened. That was an open port is an opportunity. It's not until the right level of water comes up that now that level of the ship can now unload its good levelly on the dock. It has to wait for the port to open. If the tides are out and too low, the port is not open. You have to wait until the port is open. And so we don't control when opportunities come and go, but we must be ready for them when they show up. So that if there's a piece of property that comes up and God says, here's an open port, an opportunity, I want you to seize it, because God will expand you and cause your territory to be expanded. What is God presenting to you as an opportunity? I'm getting ready to tell you that your opportunities are getting ready to open to another level. The revelation of God will begin to show you, and then a decision has to be made. And a relationship with people who go on the journey with you will carry you and to help you and to say, we will do this. We will go up and possess the land, for we are well able. It didn't merely say I, because the vision produced the unity. And so proper relationships with proper revelation, with proper decisions, and then God will open opportunities. These four elements will shift your life into a brand new level. You're on your way to greater. May the Lord bless you. I love you. It's been a joy.